This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, we are ready to go. How you feeling, Manny? You feeling good?
Doing great, out here in a parking lot in Coral Gables. Just left media day, so it was productive. A lot of interviews, a lot of good conversation. So I'm ready to go, man. Camp starts Friday. Let's get this thing rolling.
I like it. I like it. So, injury-wise, are there any concerns going in just in case? Is there anybody that's not going to be starting camp? Let me start off with bad news and get that out of the way.
Well, Zion Nelson, as we talked about previously on the show, came out in a picture a few weeks ago with a big brace on his knee, and that was because he was having a procedure done to basically clear out some cartilage, kind of clean out his knee. It was minor surgery, so he won't be ready for the start of camp, but that doesn't mean he won't be ready for the start of the season. I asked Zion today. He said he had the surgery 3 weeks ago. The prognosis was 6 to 8 weeks. We know Miami has 2 cream puffs to start the season pretty much with Bethune-Cookman and I guess Middle Tennessee State or Southern Miss, I think it is, before they go to that Texas A&M game on September 17th. So I think Miami's in a good position where even if Zion Nelson isn't ready for the start of the season, game 1, he definitely looks like he'll be ready for Texas A&M, which is the first real test.
I like it. All right. All right. So that's good. And that's one game that it's like, I'm not going to sit here and go, I expect them to beat Texas A&M. They're really not supposed to beat Texas A&M. Texas A&M is loaded. Jimbo's been at this for a couple more years ahead of Mario rebuilding his team.
Yep.
So, but that is going to be, it's kind of like Dolphins Bills. Like you want to see how far you are from the best team in your division, or maybe even in the conference, right? Is what you could say. Same thing here. You're talking about a SEC team. Okay, we want to know where Miami is compared to the Georgias and the Texas A&Ms and the Alabamas of the world. So it's a nice measuring stick, and you would like to have a guy like that there for a measuring stick game.
Absolutely. And, there's going to be other guys that when we start camp on Friday, I'm sure will not be, fully dressed and participating in contact drills. But, Mario Cristobal reiterated today, the only guy on the team who's not going to be available for the start of the season in his eyes is Ryan Rodriguez. He's a second-year offensive lineman who had surgery, and it's the only significant injury. So, yes, I know everybody's going to freak out when we're tweeting on Friday, me and the other reporters who cover this team saying, hey, such and such guy isn't here or he's, off to the side. I think, the general consensus here is Miami had a lot of injuries in the spring, and it's like normal. Everybody, brings guys along slowly to make sure that they're healthy for the season because that's what matters. And so there'll be a couple of other guys. Akeem Mesidor, who's a big-time defensive lineman that they got through the transfer portal out of West Virginia, a guy who started last year at West Virginia. I think he was second team all conference. He told me today he's dealing with a shoulder. He's only 80% back from that shoulder injury that he had in the bowl game for West Virginia. So, he's going to probably not be practicing the first couple of weeks or at least being brought along slowly. So there will be guys as practice progresses here that you'll see are probably not practicing the first week or two full on. Again, that doesn't mean they won't be ready for the start of the season and that Texas A&M game.
Manny, do we know how Mario is going to prepare this team? How much different will it be compared to what's happened in the past? I was reading Barry Jackson's article where he was talking about how like Diaz was sometimes too concerned about being friends with the players, and he would let stuff slide, and that, Mario's more old school. He's not going to let stuff slide. He's going to be, in other words, he's going to make people accountable, which, wow, shocker. That's let's all grow up and be accountable. You know what I mean? I just had a press conference with Preston Williams. Talk about a guy that has no idea what the word accountability is. That's it right there. So I'm wondering what happens. How much tougher is it? How much more physical is it? What kind of rules limit them from doing what they need to do? You talk to me about what do you know? Because maybe also it's maybe an unfair question because we haven't gone through it yet. So I don't know if they've told you or you're still kind of waiting to see how that whole thing is going to develop and what's the difference?
Well, I think we all have to wait and see once the games start, right? But I had an interesting conversation today with Jared Harrison Hunt, for instance, who, by the way, a lot of these guys still do like Manny Diaz. Okay, they still have a good positive relationship with that guy. But Mario is certainly a different animal, and accountability is a big issue, as you said. I think it was Jalen Rivers, the offensive lineman, who told me today that Mario, when their shirts are out of their shorts at practice, he screams at them. Your shirt is out of your shorts. You have to tuck it in. There's no, I mean, little details like that where he's old school, as you said, and stays on top of them. And, the players really believe, okay, I talked to about 15 of them today, that what Mario brings in terms of being a guy who's won a national championship here, won 2 rings here as a player, coached at the highest levels at Alabama, they believe it when he says it. And I'm not going to sit here and say they didn't believe it when Manny Diaz said it because, he's the head coach. You got to respect the head coach. But it's just a different level of trust. And I think it's evident that these guys, when they look at Mario and when he says something, it resonates in a different way. So there's no question in my mind. Now, is that going to translate to this team all of a sudden no longer losing to Virginia and to Duke and to, having to fight in the fourth quarter to beat Central Michigan? Is that going to be the case? I don't know. We won't know till we see the players on the field. We won't
Right.
know, are they going to blow tackling assignments? Are we going to see Gervin Hall completely whiff, on a guy when he's trying to bring him down in the open field where it's replayed 1,000 times on Sports Center?
Yeah, that's the worst play in the history of the Canes. I mean, that's just
Like,
like,
that
yeah.
I think things are different, but I can't tell you, right, until we see these guys on the field and execute. It's a different era. Like, these players, these kids are different people. I will tell you, it feels different. It sounds different. Now, will it look different? That's the final hurdle to cross.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you there. That's really we've got to fight. But listen, I'm watching a guy that's his today, and Javon Holland. So if they're built like that and they're mentally like that, then he's getting the right guys. The problem is we also have to understand the guys are left over from the other regime, and so they are already kind of set in their ways, and that's the stuff that he may have to weed through because some of these guys may be lazy, some of these
Mhm.
guys may not be ready to really, all of a sudden this is a completely different way of coaching compared to how you were being coached before. The guy that's here now doesn't care about, he's not worried about your feelings, you know what I mean? He's worried about winning.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's going to be the intro. Now, listen, again, I'm expecting, and I think you are too. I think most Canes are. We're expecting a much more professional approach from this team. That's all.
Yeah, and I think we will see that, and I think he's already implemented some ways, with whether it's tucking in shirts, whether it's guys being early for practice, right, coming in early, not being there on time, being there early, all those kind of core beliefs that Mario has. I think you're already seeing actions take place on the field. Again, it's what do we see on fall Saturdays when it matters between the lines? Do those guys resort to their old tendencies or do they adopt this new line of thinking and execute and perform the way that they should? I will tell you this, though, okay? A lot of these guys physically impressed the hell out of me today. I mean, there were some guys that put on some weight, that got bigger, that looked like grown men compared to than they did a year ago. And I know we say that every year at this time, but I really do think Aaron Feld, whatever it was that he was doing in the weight room with these guys to get them bigger and stronger, there are real changes in some of these guys' bodies that you saw today. And I think Mario is 1,000% recruiting in a way that resembles the way guys at Alabama and Georgia look,
They
right?
have to. If you're gonna beat those kind of people, you better go recruit the same kind of players that
Yes.
are
And
that are there. I mean, that's just automatic, dude. You have to do that.
yeah,
That's the only way to go. That's the only way to go about it.
there's no
And
question.
and we that's been the issue here for a while, that you could tell that the players that were on this team could not be compared to the guys at Clemson. And then whenever you did run into an Alabama or whatever, like a couple of years ago, you were like, holy crap, look at those players and look at our players. And there was just an enormous difference. And that difference that cannot continue. That's why that kid is being recruited. That's like 6'6", 330 already or something. And he's in high school. I forgot the name of the kid, but he's an enormous, huh? Which is the guy?
The offensive
Yeah,
tackle.
yeah. That guy that is just an absolute beast. And I'm like, at that age, that kid's already that size. And that's what Alabama and Ohio State and Texas A&M, and that's what they recruit every single year.
You know, Mario and I had a conversation this summer, and he mentioned to me the blueprint, you know, Nick Saban, and I'm pretty sure somewhere in Nick Saban's blueprint there was probably a sentence that said, "You don't recruit somebody who's small unless whatever one skill he has is beyond elite."
Right.
And so size matters in this game, as you know. And you know, so many of these kids at Miami that have been recruited here the last few years, they've taken some shortcuts, especially at the linebacker position. There's been some guys that they've taken that are a little undersized, you know, need to put on a whole bunch of weight. You look at the guys that got committed to that position now, you got 6'2", 230, 6'3", 235. I mean, those are grown men that are ready to play at the college level when they walk in the door. And that's so important if he's going to be able to turn this thing around quickly. I will tell you, you know, we're talking about size and growth. Funny story, Leonard Taylor's the 5-star, commitment that they got 2 years ago that Manny Diaz pulled in here. And he's a guy who should probably play a ton this year. Led the team with 9.5 tackles last year, only played 200 snaps. Okay, he's going to play a lot more in this defense. Leonard today told me he's gained about probably 20 pounds of muscle. And, you know, they definitely do different kind of physical tests. Like Aaron Feld, as I was mentioning earlier, the strength coach, he talked about how, you know, all these defensive linemen, offensive linemen have to do pull-ups now. And, you know, when you're in high school, you know, you remember we used to do the pull-up tests when we were kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was a fat kid.
That was back when I could actually do a couple pull-ups.
Right. I was a fat kid. I was lucky if I could do 1 or 2 pull-ups, right? Whenever we did that test every single year. And you know, Leonard told me last year, okay, when he started, he did 1 pull-up. This is a guy who's 6'5", you know, 280 pounds, 270 pounds coming out of high school. And you talk about, you know, getting them prepared, right, to play at this level. He's going to do 1 pull-up. He's already up to 8 now. And he's benching, I think, 60 pounds more. That's in 1 summer with Mario Cristobal, strength coach, in the system here. So, you know, every single one of these guys that I talked to, I spent most of my time talking to offensive and defensive linemen today, because to me, that's where you're going to see the difference, right, in Miami going forward. If they're going to be great again, they got to dominate on both sides of the line. And all of them talked about the tremendous gains that they've made in the weight room and how much stronger they feel in this new system and why it's different. And that's something I'll be writing about for The Athletic here probably in the next day or two. But just that to me was sort of overwhelming.
And what will be more impressive is that they all hit their goals, and then they all get Feld's a mustache, and then they're all walking around with the Feld mustache. That would be good. Or you could make them laugh and piss them off at the same time. You could say, Coach, why don't you do this? Okay. Those that fail to meet their, you know, goals, they're forced to actually wear your mustache. And then he'll laugh, and then he'll say, well, wait a minute. Hey, you know, so, so there you go. So, if, you know, one of those things.
I don't know how many of these kids could grow that mustache out, man. That is a funky mustache for sure.
That thing is glorious. That thing is absolutely glorious, and he is a trip. All right, on the recruiting side, anything happened over the last couple of days?
Well, they picked up a 2024 kicker, the number 1 kicker in the country. And I know we all used to laugh, right, until those seasons when Miami didn't have a kicker and they couldn't make a field goal and their punting was atrocious.
And that's the guy we were going to draft with the 3rd round pick in a couple of years. So, yeah, now we don't have a 3rd round pick for the guy. Damn it.
Well, they got a kicker in the 2024 class. And I think there could be some things that happen here in the coming days. Connor Liu is I think he's a 3 or 4 star rated, offensive lineman. I don't know if he's a guard or a tackle. I was trying to remember if he was a guard or a tackle, but he's a kid who will be deciding, I think, on Friday. I know Miami's in the running for him. They've quietly been recruiting him. Again, another lineman, Jaden Bonsu, the safety from New Jersey that Miami was supposed to get committed last month. I think he's announcing on the 14th. So we have a couple guys that potentially could be committing to Miami here as camp gets underway. Oh, that's something to keep an eye on. But I think for the most part, the best of the best kids. I mean, I asked Mario today about recruiting and taking official visits, right? Because it happens every year. These kids commit in the summertime. Then we get to November and December, and everybody's like, "Ooh, are you going to go to this school? Are you going to visit that school? You're going to, I want to take a visit here." And Mario basically said to me, "Look, when I committed to Miami, the first thing Jimmy Johnson told me, if you're serious about your commitment, you're going to help me recruit other players." And so that's what Mario considers a commitment to Miami. Not only are you committed, but you're trying to bring guys here. And I think that's starting to happen. I know Miami's really trying to get this Jaron Dickey kid out of California who's committed to Oregon. He's a 5-star receiver. I know that they're kind of going back on Brandon Innes, the 5-star here from Plantation American Heritage. Miami's trying to steal guys away from other schools that are committed right now. And I think, all those things are sort of permeating in the air in the background here as camp gets underway.
All right, there you go. What else are you working on the Athletics so folks can check you out, sir?
Well, listen, we just put out a whole depth chart story. So everybody who messages me and asks and says, "Hey, Manny, what's going on position by position?" There's one place to find it. It's right there. We have the depth chart for you. I have your projected starters, and I'm going to go into that story today and update it with some of the injury news and some of the basics. So we have one sort of central place for all your information whenever you have roster questions.
Love it. Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. And, of course, subscribe to The Athletic so you can catch all the insight every single day because he's writing at least 46 articles a day. So you won't even have enough time to read what he writes every day. That's how impressive it is.
That's how it works.
All right, rock on the rest of the week, my brother. We will catch up on Friday. Thank you as always.
See you soon, brother. Take care.
You got it. And don't forget, 2511 South University Drive in Davie. They've got anything and everything with a U logo on it. And you can get Miami Dolphins gear. Stephen Ross, we don't need you there. You can get Miami Marlins gear, Florida Panthers, Miami Heat, Inter Miami. They've got some sweet gear. Man, that was a fun game this weekend. I just wish they would have won, man. Damn it. That is Manny Navarro. And don't forget, by the way, folks, you can order online at caneswear.com anywhere in the country. Free shipping over $99. Tell them that Big O sent you. They'll take care of you. caneswear.com.